Let's talk about fairies. G'day to all you lovely people and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you haven't been here before. I'm Kathy and today I want to talk about this, Summer Night, the fourth book in the Dresden Files series. Okay, now, if you haven't guessed yet, I am completely and utterly hooked on the Dresden Files. I am loving them. I'm already halfway through book 6. Seriously, I just can't stop reading them. There are so many other things I want to read, but I just want more Harry, so I keep coming back to them. Okay. Because this leads off from book 3, I have to mention a couple of things that occurred in that book because they are important for book 4. And if you haven't read book 3, don't watch this video because I will be referring to some spoilers from the third book, not from this book, however. I should mention that given that I'm now up to book 6, I might confuse what happens in one book with another. So I'm trying to record these videos as close as possible after I finish the book. However, today I am on book 6 and this is book 4, so I might make a mistake and forgive me if I do. As you probably know if you have read book 3, Harry really started a war with the vampires between the Red Court and the White Council. The White Council is the governing body for wizards. We were introduced to the council in the very first book, but we never really got to know too much about it. We learn a lot more in this book. In the very beginning, Harry is very down on his luck, very angry and unhappy because he and Susan had to part due to what happened in the third book. I don't think Susan is in this book, which I didn't miss. Yeah, I was not a fan of Susan. I think I've said that before, so I don't miss her at all. As a result of Harry starting this war with the vampires, he has to undergo a trial. Concurrently, Harry is approached by Mab, the Winter Queen of the Fairies, to investigate the murder of the Summer Night. That is the basic plot. This is the fourth book in the series. We already know a little bit about the magical world, but in this book we really do learn a lot more. Every subsequent book adds a little bit more to the magical system, to the different organizations, to the rules that wizards, vampires, werewolves, etc. have to follow. I know I've said this before, I am not really interested in reading a murder mystery, but I'm very interested in fantasy worlds, and I love the world that he is creating. And I'm loving learning bits and pieces as we go rather than having it all thrown into one book. It makes it more interesting because there's still so much that we do not know about this world. Summer Night specifically deals with the fairies. Yeah, we had gotten a bit of a glimpse of the fairy world in book 3, but it is explored so much more in this book. I liked what Butcher decided to do with the fairy world, that there is this age-old eternal battle between summer and winter. I love learning about the politics of the summer and winter courts and the different characters that inhabit this fairy world, such as Maeve and Aurora. The scope of the conflict in this is much grander than some of the other books. This was a save the world kind of story. I'm also enjoying some of the new characters that are introduced, not all. Now I wanted to talk about what I liked and what I didn't like. I always like starting with the things I didn't like. Okay. We meet Elaine, who we have heard mentioned in previous books. Harry's ex-lover who betrayed him. Okay. I have a real problem with Elaine. I did not like her. I did not accept her explanation for why she betrayed Harry, whereas Harry just swallowed it too easily for my taste. I thought, here we go. This is going to be really interesting. Harry and Elaine will get to learn a lot more about what happened to Harry, how it happened, what Elaine's role, and yet we were given so little information. But Harry was just so gullible when it came to Elaine, and that really bothered me. He's far too smart in so many other ways for him to be duped by a character who has already betrayed him. She seemed a replacement for Susan, a romantic interest as such. I'm not sure if the author was simply giving Harry closure or whether he didn't know what he could do to make this character redeemable. Regardless, I found her character dull and unnecessary for the story. Even though she does play, you could even say, a minor to medium part in the story. I did not like her character in this, not because she betrayed Harry. I just thought, yeah, I'm not interested in her. We don't know enough to make us care about her. What we do know is what we learn through Harry's rose-coloured spectacles. Seriously, he was just so forgiving so quickly that, yeah, I'm not so forgiving. So, yeah, I was actually really disappointed with that storyline. That, I have to say, is my major criticism of Book 4, Summer Night. Another criticism I have of this book is that this was Save the Entire World story. If this storyline had been introduced much earlier in previous books, then it would have more of an impact, I think. But learning in this book that there is a conflict which could impact the entire world, yeah, it didn't give me any real sense of urgency. I didn't feel it. I just thought it's fairies. Well, yeah, I just thought it's those cute little fairies, even though they are not cute at all in this series of books. They are quite dangerous and Machiavellian. And perhaps because they're all so beautiful, it is a little difficult for me to see them as dangerous as they really are. I kept wanting to giggle at things that happened to Harry. There is one scene which, wow, I laughed so hard when he is in Maeve's court, and that is all I'm going to say. I could not stop laughing over that scene. My point is that I find the fairies a little hard to see as really dangerous. I definitely found the vampires a lot scarier, a lot more threatening and lethal than the fairies. Okay, now I wanted to talk about what I really liked about this book. I loved seeing a lot more of Murphy. I am a huge Murphy fan. She is becoming one of my favourite characters. I also really enjoyed seeing a lot more of Billy and the Wolf Pack. Surprising, isn't it? I really thought that they were superfluous in book 2, but they have been slowly growing on me. We see a lot more of Billy, particularly in book 4, and I just love his relationship with Harry. The humour is hilarious. The caring between them is wonderful. I found the Wolf Pups now an interesting set of characters that add to the story. It adds in the sense that they are allies of Harry who he can call upon when he is in dire straits, like he was in this book. But then when isn't Harry in dire straits? I also really loved what Harry did at the end when facing the fairies, and that's all I'm going to say. I thought that was hilarious, actually, and again, very clever, because Harry is goddamn smart. Something else I'm really loving is Harry. More and more and more. I love that he is unflinching, uncompromising. That even if it will help him, he is not prepared to bow down to anyone. The way he dealt with the White Council, I loved it. I loved that he was not going to suck up to anyone. He was who he was, and you either took him or you didn't. I just love that about him, that he is so uncompromising when it comes to idiocy. Because let's be honest, sometimes the White Council is idiotic. I thought so anyway. Another thing I loved was learning more about the White Council. We've been told so much about it throughout the rest of the books that it was nice to finally get to see them in action and see just what they do, who they are. There was another new character we were introduced to, Ebenezer. I loved him as well, though we didn't spend a lot of time with him. I do think that the author is changing the humour a bit. Up to now, Harry's humour has always been very dry, very droll, self-deprecating. Now he seems to be more of a smartass. Not too much, thankfully, because I'm not a fan of smartass humour. However, we still do get to see Harry be silly. That's what I call it, particularly around women. Oh my God, yes, his chivalrous streak will be the end of him, I think, but I do feel that the tone is changing. They always seem to be getting darker and darker. Things seem to be more dire. A lot of horrible things happen that Harry has to deal with. This one, he's dealing with the ramifications of Susan getting bitten. He's dealing with the White Council and all this pressure and responsibility being placed on him. And yet he proves, as always, that he is capable, resourceful, smart as hell, and prepared to take risks to get the job done. In summary, I wanted to say that I really enjoyed this book, but it's not my favourite. No, even though we get to see so much more of the magical world, I didn't find the fairies as intimidating, scary as some of the other villains. But what I love about series, which is why I like long series, is they generally have an overall story arc. You start off with the first and it just continues, and you learn more and more about the world, about the characters, about their backstory, etc. I love that. It gives me a much deeper understanding of characters and the world that they're in. And that is why I am loving the Dresden Files, because we are constantly learning something new with each book. I do recommend Summer Night. Like all of them, it is a very fast and very enjoyable, entertaining read. I did enjoy Butcher's take on fairies. I really did, actually. I just thought that it was a little too ambitious. I also loved seeing the White Council, finally, after having heard so much about them. There is a lot to enjoy in this book because it just added so much to this magical world, and that's what I want. Yeah, I just want to learn more and more. Now for a score, I score between 1 and 10. I would give this 5.5 to 6. and 6 is probably pushing it because it definitely wasn't my favorite, even though I really did enjoy it, as I enjoy all of them. Let me know if you have read Summer Night and what your thoughts are on it. You know, I always want to hear your opinions. I'm very curious if people liked it, hated it. I'm in between. I liked it, but I didn't love it. Thank you all so very much for hanging out with me. I really do appreciate that you watch my videos, you like and you comment on them. And if you like this video and you haven't already, do consider subscribing to my channel because it helps my channel to grow. I hope you all have a beautiful day and a beautiful weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye.